they spent so much effort raising the money, and then they have very little to show for it. And organizations around the world are now beginning to ask questions. And who knows what will happen to Red Cross's donations as a result of this. That's what's going to be interesting. We talk so much about the idea and the need for private solutions and private assistance, and then this happens, and conservatives are confronted with that.
Wasn't there also a problem after September 11th with the Red Cross? Don't I remember Bill O'Reilly getting on them about that? So this is not the first time, possibly?
That's what I understand. That's how I understand it, is that they've had difficult problems depending on what area, what disaster. And I'm sure part of it is just that there's problems that they have no experience with, that they attempt to come in because they have an infrastructure and they attempt to come in and fix those things. But I'm certain there's a ton of mismanagement here too. Poorly prioritized work and not hiring the right people. They did a bunch of things more expensively than they could. They were, in some places, hiring people to drive Red Cross vans around empty, so it looked as though help was getting to people.
Well, O'Reilly actually interviewed a spokeslady for the Red Cross tonight, and the crux of her argument was what you mentioned earlier, that they could not procure the land to build the houses. And the difficulty in dealing, like you just said, with the legalities of getting the land and locking it down was they just couldn't overcome it. And so they spent a ton of money on keeping people in hotels, and and they built a bunch of temporary lodgings. But the simple fact is, her explanations did not come anywhere remotely close to explaining the shortfall. And by the way, if you couldn't do all that, where's the money? Well, the fact is the money went to overhead, a lot of it, and the money went to, they not just her organization, but then they would farm it out to other organizations, doubling the bureaucracy, trying to handle the same task. It's a mess. I swear, it's not Clinton Foundation bad. It's not that bad, okay, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah, Clinton Foundation bad. It's hard to get Clinton Foundation bad. At least the Red Cross didn't sell, uranium mines to foreign nationals.
Although the number of houses is very green energy jobs like. The amount of money you're spending per job is much like we'd hear per house that they're getting down there. So we can draw that parallel.
Oh yes, it is the Solyndra. It is the Solyndra of volunteer organizations.
I think every green energy job, for that you can make a space shuttle. I think that's about it.
One thing that could be said about this is that anytime you have an accumulation of money and power and unchecked ability to spend that, you have the ability for corruption, whether it's free market or governmental. Now, here's the key difference, though, is that we saw with the Amtrak crash, there was, people died, there was major scandal. What was the solution? Oh, let's throw $100 billion more dollars at Amtrak, or however much money they want to. Whereas in the solution on this is people are going to stop giving to the Red Cross.
Absolutely, and I hope that that's the case, because, market forces hopefully demand that that's the case. You don't want to give your money to a charity that spends more on, funding expats to, do cush jobs that apparently don't actually do anything, than you would say a, single person fund, or there's so many ways that we can do charity in, give to charity in more individual ways, in ways that you're helping a certain individual 100%, and they're receiving the money 100%. Instead of going to a big bureaucracy like the Red Cross, or even Wounded Warriors, we've heard about them and misdeeds coming from those guys.
I think you and Chris bring up the best point, and that is, with a private charity, if it fails, you can stop giving money to it. With a public charity, or with a public anything, if it fails, it's locked in. It takes a whole election or multiple elections to remove it. That's the biggest problem. If you know that whatever you're doing can't be removed without multiple elections, okay, then obviously you're going to perpetuate problems much more than if people can simply stop getting money.
Well, and we can report on the Red Cross, and we can pressure the executives to address the issues and come up with better solutions or fix things, because they are responsive to market forces. Whereas we can publish all the stories about the fraud in the disability program we want, but nothing changes because we can't stop contributing to the disability programs.
The whole concept that we have to modify our entire lives to make sure we never offend anyone is what is, I think, offensive in and of itself. We have developed a culture that's based on the idea that the more you get offended, the more your voice matters. You know, the more that you are emotionally affected, a victim of